What if some of the places mentioned in the Bible have been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years? Not because they disappeared, but because we stopped looking in the right places. Today, we'll examine ancient maps, current maps, and biblical passages to uncover the evidence. Hi, this is Debbie, author of Unsealed Identities, Discovering the Untold African Presence of the Bible. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. On this channel, we explore biblical history, locations, and identities through a fresh lens as we uncover the African presence throughout the Bible and reconnect the scriptures to Africa and the dispersed African diaspora. Together, we'll uncover overlooked histories, challenge traditional narratives, and reconnect the Bible back to its African roots. If you enjoy this type of content, please subscribe, like, and share. As this is the first video since the trailers for the book, let's establish the location of a few places that we discovered so we can set a firm foundation. Genesis 10:9-10 states, Cush fathered Nimrod. He was the first on earth to be a mighty man. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Please note that Shinar actually sounds like Sinar, as in many cases, an H sound has been inserted into the English transliteration. Old maps show a large region of Sinar in Egypt and Sudan. Here are two of the images. Today, there are remnants of the area still with the same name located in Sudan. Let's see what it looks like today. In Exodus 12:37, we read, And the people of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children. The original word has no H at the end. Sukkot is an area in northern state Sudan. Sukkot is situated nearby to the village Sayasab, as well as near the city Abri. Here is Sukkot in Sudan as shown on this map. If you do a search for Sukkot in Sudan, it will not show up in Google Maps, which of course is interesting. We must ask why it does not. This is why it is important to document and share this information before more important places start to disappear. Since it's not mapped in Google Earth, let's go for a visit to Abri, which is a bit more north, to see the surrounding area. Let's take a look next at Akkad in Sudan. Here it is today with the same phonetic name. Here's something interesting to connect Sukkot, Sudan, with Ramses. The great temples of Abu Simbel temples are located in southern Egypt, near the border of Sudan. They were built more than 3,200 years ago by Ramesses II, one of the most powerful pharaohs of ancient Egypt. The larger temple was dedicated to the gods of Egypt and to Ramses II himself. 4 giant statues of the king sit at the entrance, each standing about 65 feet tall. A smaller temple nearby was dedicated to his wife, Queen Nefertari. Abu Simbel is located only about 180 miles north of the modern Sudanese city of Sukkot, depending on the route measured. This places the temples very close to the ancient lands of Nubia, a region that stretched across what is now southern Egypt and northern Sudan. Because of this location, Abu Simbel stood at an important crossroads between Egypt and Nubia. In the 1960s, Egypt began building the Aswan High Dam. The dam created a huge reservoir called Lake Nasser. As the lake filled with water, many ancient monuments were in danger of being flooded forever. To save Abu Simbel, an international rescue project was organized by UNESCO. Between 1964 and 1968, Engineers carefully cut the temples into more than 1,000 large blocks. Some blocks weighed up to 30 tons. The pieces were lifted, moved about 650 feet away from the original site, and reassembled on higher ground about 200 feet above their former location. The project was one of the greatest archaeological rescue efforts ever completed. We're told that Ramesses II ruled Egypt for about 66 years, from around 1279 to 1213 BC. He is often called Ramesses the Great because of the many monuments and temples he built throughout Egypt and Nubia. We must always keep in mind that these dates are only theories and not facts. Today, Abu Simbel remains one of the most famous ancient sites in the world. The fact that an entire temple complex was cut apart, moved, and rebuilt to save it from flooding makes it one of the greatest preservation stories in history. So this makes me wonder, was this some type of divine intervention that caused this complex to be saved so that we could connect it to the biblical story? Let me know what you think in the comments. By the way, Ramses is also mapped in a different location that is closer to the modern state of Israel to fit that location's narrative. Here are Sennaar, Akkad, Sukkot, and Abu Simbel all together with their distances in between. I'll leave a link to the map platform which I created to help me tell the story, since there was nothing that fit the needs for this project. Notice that Babylon is noted in Africa on several old maps. We will dedicate a separate video on Babylon at a later date. There is still a place called Babil in Sudan. Whether or not it is related to the original kingdom, I don't know, but thought I would share it. We really don't know how large these areas were. Now that we've established these locations, we can now have the correct perspective. Of course, this raises questions. Why have these places been transferred and mapped in a completely different location called the Middle East? Together, Akkad, Sukkot, Sennaar invite us to look again at the map. Are these similarities merely coincidences, or are they clues to a deeper connection between the biblical record and the ancient landscapes of what is called modern-day Sudan? As we look more closely at old names, traditions, and places, Sudan stands out as a region that may hold important links to the Bible's past. We do not yet know if these connections will change the mainstream historical narrative, but they do encourage us to keep searching, keep asking questions, and keep uncovering truths that may have been hidden for a long time. Thanks for watching. Please remember to share, like, and subscribe if you like this content. See you in the next video. Also, feel free to let me know what you think in the comments.